It's a magical world, Rick, old buddy. Let's go exploring.
That's all we want. That's it. The Trail of Two Riders is a multi-continental motorcycle camping adventure that chases the feeling of freedom. As we search for new spots to surf, wingfoil, and spearfish, we also search for new ways to connect with nature and people. This segment of the trip is from Peru to Costa Rica and is inspired by the unlimited potential of what's out there to be discovered by two friends geared up for anything with no plans, no schedules, no deadlines, and no limits. Who are we? Rick is a handyman. He has unreal rigging skills, and he's the kind of guy who can survive a week in the jungle with just his knife. We kind of both have this desire to always want to see what's around the next corner.
These cow guts they're hard to get down.
I'm Christopher. I'm 28 years old. I enjoy spearfishing, surfing, skiing, snowboarding, pretty much any extreme sport, any water sport. I'm down to always try something new or learn something new. I would say the main focus of my career choices is centered around the ocean. This is the story of the Trail of Two Riders. In this story, I hope to inspire you to do what scares you. Face your fears. Within your fears often lie the greatest adventures. This trip began in Peru, in a town called Lobitos, where I have two good friends, Segundo and Paula. And Rick actually ended up buying Segundo's motorbike. I already had a motorbike from a previous trip. Quite a big hang up at the beginning of the trip. Rick lost his passport and $3,000 cash. We gotta go to the police station, make a report, get this guy a new passport, then get him the permission to sign documents, then buy a moto.
Listen, there's gonna be bumps in the road. Don't let it hold you down. We're gonna get over this and continue the journey, baby.
So immediately we had this problem-solving mindset, and Rick flew to Lima to get an emergency passport. Because Rick's passport was just a temporary one, it led to a couple problems. First off, he was no longer able to put the motorbike into his name, so I ended up putting both motorbikes in my name. We were hitting the road, and it was an insane feeling just to have worked out all the stuff, got the bikes are running well, and we're finally on the road. The next hang up happened at the Ecuador border. Rick's temporary passport was not registered in the system, so he had quite a difficult time getting stamped out of Peru and into Ecuador. When we started the trip, we had one rule: never ride at night. We broke that rule. We are pulling into Guayaquil. We're actually the smaller city of Duran, which is the most dangerous city in Ecuador. We wanted to push for Guayaquil so we could go to the Galapagos Islands. We're super excited to make it to the Galapagos, and so we were pushing it. Rick is like, dude, you almost got hit by a car. Next thing I know, I get slammed by this car from behind. I go flying off my bike. Next thing I know, I'm on my feet somehow. Immediately just got up, just in fight or flight mode, and sprint to the sidewalk, see my bike get slammed by a semi. My board bag is on one part of the road, my bike is on the other. Parts of my mirrors are all over the road. Complete mess. My lights are smashed, my bike's destroyed, tipped over. Rick's like, are you okay? And I'm like, yeah, I'm good. And he goes racing off after the drunk driver who was doing a hit and run. And he takes his machete out of his bike, as one does, and goes after this guy. What would you do for your best friend if he got hit and there was a hit and run? You chase him down with your machete. So Rick goes speeding off after this guy and is kicking at his mirrors and slamming on his windows with his machete and trying to get the guy to pull over, which he doesn't do. He's swerving all over, almost hits Rick. Then finally he comes to a stop, and Rick just opens his door. His door was unlocked. Rick opens his door, reaches across, takes his keys, turns off his car, and I think Rick ripped him out of the car onto the ground, and then the cops were suddenly there. He was like so wasted, couldn't barely even stand up. Up like was wrestling him and fighting him, trying to detain him, and they were looking at my bike, looking at my injuries, and I was just looking at this guy like wanting to fight him so bad, like just wanting to make him pay for ruining my bike and ruining our trip in a way. This trip that we had been preparing so much for, and yeah, I was in pain. I was looking at all my cuts, thinking about how I wasn't gonna be able to surf, looking at my bike, seeing how it was destroyed, thinking like this might be the end of the trip already. So we wanted to get some money out of this guy. Like Rick lost $3,000. Now my bike's destroyed, my rack's destroyed. Who knows, my boards are probably destroyed. And so we're trying to get money out of the guy, talking to the cops. And then in the end, the cops just said like, he's drunk and he doesn't want to give you money. So we're gonna let him go. They took his watch and they took his money. So I just wanted like him, when he came out of his blackout, to like be disrespected by me in some way. And so I've seen a couple fight videos where people take off the shoes of someone that they like knock out. Yeah, we didn't get the shoes. The cops took all the guy's stuff and then just let him go, let him drive home. Decided not to go to the hospital because I felt like I just had a minor concussion and bad road rash, so I didn't really think that the hospital would do much for me. We were pretty much immobile. My bike could only get pushed around and my massive board bag could only get dragged so far. So we went to the closest accommodation that was available, and it was a super dirty, really cheap, the kind of hotel that you can rent a room for an hour at, if you know what I'm saying. Stayed there for the night, I cleaned up my cuts. Next day we wake up and we're just pretty bummed, like everything went wrong that could have gone wrong. My bike is super bashed, I'm bashed, my rack is broken, super low on money. We're like just on a downer. We're staying at this super gross hotel and we're like, what are we doing? Like, this is so brutal. We're in a dark place. We're on a bad one. We do our morning meditation though, like we do every morning, and we did a special one this day. We visualized the best possible outcome for the day. My visualization was that I would be watching the sunset that night, sitting on a beach in the Galapagos, drinking a beer with a marine iguana by my side. We had no way to move my bike. We had my massive board bag that also couldn't get moved, but we started problem solving and we figured out that we could get my board bag on Rick's bike, and we did a couple little test rides with that. Rick was feeling good. He had my whole board bag on his bike now, and so now we had to get my bike mobile. We had a mechanic come by and help us check out the chain. He helped us bend like the fork for my chain to get the chain back on, just so I could limp around and at least move the bike. And we figured out that there was a hostel pretty close to the airport where we would be able to store our bikes for a couple weeks while we went to the Galapagos. Problem solving, making things happen. We didn't have much time because there was only one flight that day, and it was in like an hour, and we had about like a 30-minute drive to the hostel and to the airport. And so things were looking really like not possible, but we just started going for it. My chain fell off like 3 times on the trip over to the hostel, but we just kept fixing it, throwing it back on, kept pushing. We dropped the bikes off, like put them inside the hostel, super tight squeeze, but we made it happen, we made it work. Packed our bags in like 5 minutes. We were like, what do we need? How long are we going? We don't know, just pack as quick as you can. Threw some stuff into a bag, and I called like their version of Uber to the airport, and we don't even have the flights booked, but we were like, whatever, let's just go to the airport and see, maybe there's a chance we can somehow pull it off. And so we're just still making things happen, trying to make this manifestation reality and not giving up. Made it to the airport, sprinted around. There was some absolute angel that came out and was helping us and like helped us book our flights, helped us do this special bag check that you need for the Galapagos Islands. We're like way past the deadline for check bags, but she just like saw that we were in need of some assistance, and she helped us so much and made our dream reality. And next thing you know, we're on a flight to the Galapagos. Woo! Yeah, so stoked. Couldn't believe it. When we were like the last ones on the plane, they're like calling our names at the gate, and we just felt like such happiness rush over us as we're walking down the tunnel onto the flight, like just amazed at how quick like we're problem solving and just not giving up on like there is a chance, like just taking that little sliver of a chance and running with it and just not giving up. Like there's a chance we can make it. Like, oh, then doubt would creep in, but we're like, no, like there's still a chance, like we can make it happen. And yeah, we just ran with that, and next thing you know, we're sitting on the plane on the way to the Galapagos Islands. And yeah, the next part of the story, we end up sitting next to someone super special on the plane. To think that we could have easily not ever ridden on this plane specifically, the fact that we did that morning meditation and that we rushed to the airport and manifested being on the beach with this iguana and a beer, it made us catch this specific flight and sit in this specific seat, and we met this specific person, and a sandwich ended up saving us thousands of dollars. And this is how. We're on a sick one. We're like coming in hot. Like we're so happy after being on such a downer. We're now on such a high, and we walk to our seats. Rick wants the window seat, and so there's someone already sitting there, but he like makes a joke to this guy. He's like, oh, like I think you're sitting in my seat, bro. But really Rick knew he had middle, and the guy was actually super friendly and was kind of like, oh no, like this is my seat, but if you want it, like, yeah, you can have it. I've seen this view plenty of times. And so Rick's like, yeah, thank you so much, man, like that's so nice of you. So Rick gets window seat, and then I think I end up taking middle, and so we give the guy aisle. And we break out these sandwiches that we had. It's our first meal of the day. It's probably like 1 o'clock or something. We just grabbed these right before getting on the plane. And yeah, we're all stoked to eat our sandwiches. We're so hungry after like the moto crash the night before, not really eating. Yeah, we're starving. We're super stoked on these sandwiches. But then our buddy, the guy who traded seats with us, we see that he's like kind of also likes the looks of these sandwiches, and he's kind of not feeling that well. We think that maybe he's a little bit scared of air travel, and I don't know, I'm starving hungry. I'm not really gonna offer this guy any of my sandwich. I'm like, I really need this thing. But Rick, he's always sharing any little thing that he has. He's giving a little piece to a cat or a lizard or a dog. Whatever he has, a little bit is getting shared, even if he only has a little. And so yeah, Rick offers this guy half of his sandwich, and the guy declines, but Rick was definitely ready to give it up. And so that just goes to show the type of guy that Rick is. And yeah, we continue the flight. We have some small talk with the guy. I tell him about my motorbike crash. We tell him about the lost passport and the lost $3,000. We tell him that we barely made it onto this flight and that we don't have any plan whatsoever. Once we get to the Galapagos, we don't have anywhere to stay. We don't have any cars arranged. We don't have any trips arranged. And keep talking. We have a bit of a connection through yachting. He's a yacht broker, or like he helps a lot of the yachts that come to the Galapagos just with their stay. And so I was also working as a yachty, so we connected on that and had quite a few chats about yachting. And then anyway, at the end of the flight, he offers us to stay at his place, and he said the reason that he did that was because the kind gesture that Rick made, offering him half of his sandwich, he felt as though he needed to repay that kind gesture with another kind gesture. And so we accepted this offer, and next thing we know, we're getting put up in the Galapagos by a local, and he's showing us around. Didn't need to get a taxi, didn't need to arrange anything. Like, he helped us figure out the buses, he helped us with a place to stay, showed us his favorite restaurants, and just really gave us a special local welcome to the Galapagos, making it quite easy for us to grab a beer and find the iguanas on the beach for sunset. And yeah, we had a totally different experience, all thanks to meeting Johnny, also known as Yanni. Yeah, the Galapagos was a dream come true. Rick and I had both always wanted to go there, mainly for the insane and exotic wildlife, but also for a little bit of surfing and an interesting culture. We had a couple really sick days of surf where we kind of had to sneak around because the Galapagos is pretty strict with its tourism, where you need to kind of stay with a tour or with a guide all the time. But we were able to kind of hitchhike around a little bit, and since we were friends with a local, we kind of used our local knowledge and we were able to score a crazy right point break with nobody out. We were able to go to some secret spots and see some massive giant tortoises. We found every type of unique iguana except for one, which we still will go back to try to find, which is the pink iguana. It's a super rare iguana that's actually found inside of a lake that is inside of a volcano, which is on a part of the island that is basically inaccessible unless you have a helicopter or you get like a boat and then swim and do a crazy mountain trek. So that's definitely one for another trip. But other than that, we checked off everything off the list. We found the penguins, we found the hammerhead shark, so many insane different types of wildlife that only exist there in the Galapagos. Each of the islands has its own unique thing to it. Like, they have their own special animal or their own special attraction. During that trip, my cuts from the crash were able to heal, and so upon returning to the mainland and returning to our bikes, we were feeling pretty good, like so much better than when we left, and we were ready to do some repairs on my bike and get ready for the next adventure. The next adventure ended up being the highest peak in the world, a mountain called Chimborazo. Closest point to the sun though, and the highest point off of Earth. This is due to the bulge of the Earth around the equator. The motorbike ride there, after getting my bike repaired and fixing my rack, the ride there was pretty intense. It was some of the most steep riding that we'd done up to this point. I'm in first gear, like revving my bike to the absolute max, like max RPMs, like in just first gear, up like nearly vertical faces with semis ripping past me. Rick's bike was definitely the stronger one, and it showed on these mountain passes, and we rode up through the clouds, above the clouds, and eventually reached the area for the base of Chimborazo. We stayed around Quito. We did a couple of the famous hikes around Quito, which allowed us to acclimatize, and it actually took like 2 weeks of preparation for this summit attempt, which is the longest I've ever prepared for any hike or any adventure like that. And so that was quite intense period of like preparations and a lot of excitement and a lot of nerves going into like, are we gonna get the weather window? When are we gonna be able to do it? Like, we kind of just wanted to show up and do it, but Chimborazo is not that type of mountain. It's a really intense first summit, and we'd done backpacking trips, but we'd never really done like a proper mountain summit like this one, where you need ice axes, you need crampons, like the spikes on your shoes, you need super lightweight gear, and you need helmets, you need harnesses, you need lines, and you need a guide. And we were already low on money, as you know, budgeting this trip. But we ended up finding like the cheapest possible guide. He had the oldest gear, like barely working gear, and we didn't go with a tour, we didn't go with a group. It was just us and the guide, and that's kind of the way we roll. It was now or never. We had to send it. We didn't exactly have the right food preparations either, because our guide was just like bare bones, like guiding only. Food and drinks and everything like that is up to you to plan. And so that was another little sketchy last minute thing, but we managed to throw something together, and yeah, we pushed for the summit. It was the hardest thing that either of us have ever done. A real true test of mental and physical endurance. So many points where we were like, no, like we're done, we're over this, like let's just turn back, we didn't make it. But we'd take a little break, we'd keep pushing. We're like, one more step, one foot in front of the other. And we somehow found something that wasn't there deep within us, and we pushed for the summit. It was thanks to our guide as well for allowing us to go kind of deep into the day when normally we should have turned back due to avalanches and the heat of the day. All in all, it took us 13 hours to summit and return home, which was an insanely long day. At the summit, I got quite emotional. I was hit by like such intense emotions. I was crying up there, and yeah, it was just such a huge accomplishment and a true test of physical and mental endurance to reach that summit. And when we got up there, yeah, I was crying and just so happy to be up there. I put Rick up on my shoulders and found like a little last bit of energy to lift him up. And at that point, we were the highest people on Earth. Closest point to the sun, the highest people in the world. And maybe the highest people ever. I don't know if anyone else has put someone up on their shoulders on the top of that summit. Yeah, after that, I'd never been so exhausted. On the walk down, I was like falling asleep while walking down. Luckily we had our harnesses, because I nearly fell into a crevasse on the way down because I was like falling asleep walking and like went into a crevasse, but luckily the boys were all harnessed in and they saved me. Yeah, after that summit, we had a really nice time going to some waterfalls, and then we jumped off of a bridge the next day, because what do you do after being the highest people on Earth? You gotta do something crazy the next day too. So that's it for Ecuador. Coming next is Colombia. The timing worked out super well for us to go to this black and white party, it's called, which was a big festival in a town just across the border. So we shot for this little town called Pasto, which ended up being one of the highlights of the trip. It was absolutely insane. We start getting into this town and everyone's throwing all this white powder at you. We're like, what is this festival? Like, this is insane. People are covered in this white powder, and people are spraying these like silly string things and like this foam at you everywhere in every town. Even when we're riding through, like people are spraying our bikes. And then we get to Pasto and we start pulling into this town and we're looking around and it's just everything is covered in this white powder. We're like, what is this place? It was an insane festival. Every single plaza has like a massive stage set up with like huge torches, like fire everywhere, thousands of people all throwing powder on you. Like there's parades with trucks going by, people are in the back of the trucks all throwing powder, like they have powder guns, these powder sprayers. The whole town is just like in absolute chaos. Highlight of the whole trip for sure. Insane cultural experience. I was taking a video or something. 3 people came up and like teamed up on me and threw powder in my eyes and then took my phone. And so my phone got stolen, unfortunately, during the party. Yet another setback. After the Pasto party, we cruised through Colombia pretty smooth. Some epic camping, absolutely beautiful scenery, endless beautiful scenery in Colombia. Checked out all the major cities and went to like the first salsa dancing club, danced salsa, experienced culture, nights in the jungle, some night hikes. some awesome stuff went down. Foiling in Cartagena, wing foiling and surfing in Colombia was awesome. And then it was time to try to figure out if it was possible to cross the Darien Gap. We didn't know if we had enough money to make the trip happen by boat, or if we were going to do it by plane, or if we were going to try to ride the bikes across the Darien Gap. If you don't know what the Darien Gap is, it's like the most dense forest with pretty much no road. I think it's walkable, but I think maybe people have tried it on dirt bikes, but with our bikes, with all our gear, it was not possible. Looking at the boat option, found a little town called Turbo, one of the most insane towns I've ever been to in my life. Found this port and we started asking around, looking for a boat that was going to Panama. And it was quite difficult to find the day of the week and arrange when we could, in fact, put our bikes on the boat and where it was even going to take us, and if it was possible to keep boat hopping and find a different boat and another boat, and we were trying to arrange the whole thing, but it was pretty much impossible to predict. So at some point we just had to say, let's go for it, let's take this first boat. It was pretty pricey, but we didn't have much of a choice, and so we started going for it. We took the first boat, ended up getting stuck at this border town in Colombia. We found some other bikers that were also stuck waiting for a bigger boat to come and hopefully take them to Panama. We teamed up with them. They were kind of not going anywhere. They were waiting for a super cheap boat, and eventually we figured it out. We met some of these like pirate guys, and they were offering to take us, but then at the embassy, when we were trying to get stamped out of Colombia, these guys didn't have passports, so they were actually running like an illegal operation. So we ended up not going with them, but then through them, we found someone else that had seen us preparing our bikes that we hadn't expected. At this point of the trip, we just wanted to get to Panama and get riding again. The journey is about the adventure, as we ended up having some of our most special connections with locals when we said yes to this longer journey and said yes to hopping aboard a boat called the Captain Ton. When we found the Captain Ton, we were on a small island of Caledonia, and we were just sleeping in the harbor in our hammocks, and finally this boat shows up, a cargo ship full of like these pirate guys doing some gas transportation, like fuel, like propane gas. And we talked to the captain and he said he could take us for a super cheap price. But instead of being just one stop and going to our final destination in like a few hours, it was gonna take 6 days. And so we were kind of like, ooh, do we have time? But then we reminded ourselves it's about the journey, it's not about the destination. And so we said yes, and we hopped on this boat, and we had 6 amazing days, stopping on like 15 different islands, small islands in the sandblast, picking up supplies, living the life with these cargo pirate guys on their ship, sleeping in our hammocks and spearfishing with them, eating every meal with them. Yeah, just really connecting with them in a way that we hadn't connected with any locals on the whole trip. Awesome adventure, one of the highlights of the whole trip. Eventually we arrived in Panama. We took our boats off the Captain Ton, said bye to our new friends, started riding, but Rick's bike ended up having some trouble pretty early on. I think from the salt and all the boat transfers.
Ricky boy is securing his bike a little bit better. His bike is operational currently. We just got to the roads of Panama, finally, after a week-long journey. Feels good to be back on the road.
We ended up figuring all that out, getting Rick's bike the parts that he needed, and then
It's not supposed to look like this.
after crossing the Panama Canal, Rick's bike was acting up. He was following me. I see this car like waving me down and honking a bunch. I look in my rearview mirror, I don't see Rick. I realize that they're pointing at me to stop because Rick had an issue. They kind of run me off the road. I'm on the shoulder, I lose control, and I fall.
For some reason, every time I get into moto crash, I take off my helmet and throw it. I guess because the adrenaline. It's all my fault. I'm not going to blame anyone, but shoulder that destroyed me. Now I'm walking to try to find Ricky boy.
End up just riding to a gas station to get some Wi-Fi to call him.
Be careful.
Ended up getting a hold of Rick. He had walked his bike across the street. We ended up having to sleep there. I slept in an excavator. I hammocked up in an excavator because we got kicked out of the first spot where we were trying to camp on the side of the road for the night. Ended up getting a tow truck, towed Rick's bike, fixed up his bike finally. I'm all cut up on the side of the road sleeping in an excavator. Like, we're at another pretty low point of the trip.
No surfing for a couple days. Bummed.
What do we do when we're in a low point? Manifest the best possible outcome. The best possible outcome is surfing in Bocas. And so we just get Rick's bike fixed up, head towards Bocas. We do an insane mountain pass, the craziest winds of the whole trip. Super nuts, gnarly, crossing Panama from the Pacific side to the Caribbean side. Finally we make it and we leave our bikes and we hop on the ferry to Bocas del Toro. I end up surfing even with my road rash because it was firing and there was no one out. I end up breaking the nose of my board.
Bashed my board. Don't have a backup. Gotta go get the one. No one out pumping.
Rick actually ended up leaving after this part of the trip, and I continue solo into Costa Rica in the next chapter.